All right, what's up, guys? I'm here with my friend Mando Salavanti, and today we're going to be talking about making content and the role that it plays in growing his business. What's going on, Mando?
What's going on, brother? Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, diving right into it, could you briefly describe your business and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a financial planner with Mass Mutual, and basically what we do is sit down with people, figure out what their goals are, and help them use their money to get to those goals at its simplest level.
Awesome, awesome. And could you share like where you were at in your business before you were and after you had started committing to making content consistently and in terms of revenue growth and like how much your accounts grew, if that's applicable?
Yeah, so for me in business, I had a really strong start through the network that I had already grown from my hometown, college, different organizations I was a part of. And that was a really good foundation to build my business, but that obviously only goes so far, right? And I didn't want to have to depend on referrals constantly. So what I did was I shifted the content primarily through LinkedIn, and it's not an instant journey. I don't think, you start creating content, you start making money now. But what I can tell you is from the time I started, about 6 months in of posting every day, being consistent, showing up and engaging, I started to get a consistent flow of clients. And now I'm about, let's see, 18 months. I've been every day creating content for LinkedIn. I'm at a point where it probably has made me over six figures of what I would not have made otherwise if I was not putting content out and using content marketing.
Right, right. So over six figures worth of revenue in like 18 months on top of what, you would have already been doing had
So
you not been doing
just
content.
easily, just this year, like I've made an additional six figures just this year from because of content strictly that I would not have made if I was not creating content.
Gotcha, gotcha. And could you describe your process for making content and how you advertise with content marketing, and like where you mainly post right now?
Yeah, so right now it's all LinkedIn. That's primarily because of compliance things that I have. I am gonna start with Instagram in the new year. There's a program that we're rolling out, but I'll get away from that for a second. The process looks like this, and I think where people struggle with content the most is they're like, what do I post about? What do I even make? What do I talk about? And the way that to come back of like, what do I talk about and why and how do I get business? You talk to one person. You don't talk to 100. You don't talk to 1,000. You don't talk to 1,000,000. You talk to one person. You dial in who your ideal client is, who the person you're trying to get in front of is. And I have a very detailed process of like, this is who I'm talking to. These are their pain points. This is how it materializes in their life. These are the consequences if they don't fix these. And my content is all centered around what those pain points are, along with what do they think the problem is? What is really the problem? What do they think the solution is? What is really the solution? So answering all of these things about the person who would be an ideal client of mine is what I'm thinking through and what I'm going through in order to make content. Now, how I'm making it, I time block personally. I like to do time at night in the evening when I'm winding down, watching TV, and I'll pull my laptop out, make my content. I mean, I use a couple different tools. I'll use ChatGPT. I'll use Bard, which is Google's AI. And it's not using them to make the content. It's using them for idea generation. So I could go in ChatGPT and say, I'm a financial planner for people primarily in the tech sector. Give me 30 problems that people in this situation face. And I could go as granular or as detailed as I want to, and chat will give me ideas where I could then take those and make them into content.
Gotcha, gotcha. And this process that you have, had you developed this on your own, or had you kind of done some trial and error and had some coaching and some help with that?
It's been a lot of trial and error, but there has been coaching as well. One of the people that I've engaged in coaching with a few times in the past is a guy by the name of Justin Welsh. And Justin is probably one of the largest LinkedIn creators that there is. He's got, I think 500,000 followers. He has a course. He's super, super successful. The guy was in the tech world and basically exited his tech career to build on LinkedIn and sell digital marketing products. That's basically what he does. And working with Justin, this was something that he had helped me with around like generating a content matrix of like, here's all these things I could talk about, like 7 steps to this, how to do this, how I did this, things like that. So Justin's one of the people, though. I do have another coach I'm working with now. There's been others in the past, but definitely not all me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And maybe you could briefly describe like how your process looked like before you got some help, like when you first started, how much has changed since then?
When I first started, it was literally sitting down, staring at a blank screen and trying to write stuff up. And there was no structure to it. It was just like, oh, I'll talk about this or I'll talk about that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that that's fine. I think you need to start there and you need to just like make content that is you, because you won't find your voice if you don't. And once you understand those things that you do want to talk about, you can take those and dial in the things like, how do I optimize the algorithm? How do I best format what I'm doing? How do I make things look pretty? Things like that is where everybody starts. But in reality, those should be the last things you're worrying about. I didn't even worry about the algorithm till I had almost 20,000 followers on there. So if I could give advice to anyone watching this, it's like, just start and you can worry about the actual steps to dial it in after.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, that's definitely good advice. And could you share like what what was the main challenge you faced when you started? You mentioned that you had a solid start from like your referral network, and I was wondering like, did you feel like limited by that after the initial success, or did you get into making content like right away?
It's not that I felt limited by it. It's just I saw the writing on the wall that things would start slowing down if I solely relied on that. And there's a few options you could go at for marketing, right? Like I could do ads, I could do cold calling, I could do content marketing. I thought content marketing was the one that was going to be the best return on my time or money, even if I'm investing in courses and investing in coaching. So that's what led to the content marketing. But in the beginning, man, it was just a lot of random stuff. Like, oh, I had this thought and it was something that motivated me. Like, let me put this out there. So I was all over the place. It was very sporadic, but it was still helpful because I was developing the muscle of, let me post every day. Let me show up every day. Let me go engage with other people every day. And again, I dialed in how to write content, how to do copywriting, which copywriting might be the most valuable skill there is to any business, truthfully, but that's a whole nother conversation. So everything developed over time.
Right, right. And I know you briefly touched on it, but could you like briefly describe the time commitment each week? I know you said you do it after work, kind of when you're winding down. How many hours do you think you put in a week to making content?
Yeah, so there's a couple components, right? Like there's making content and there's actually engaging on the platform. And this is the step that I think it resonates with every platform and it matters, but people forget this part. So making the content, I would say before I was probably putting in 2 hours per week. Now I'm going to be, and this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but I probably spend 8 hours a week now just making the content. So I'm probably spending an hour or a little bit more per post per week. And I'm making them ahead of time because I want to be ahead of schedule. And then second, for engaging with people on platform, I block out 2 hours of my morning every morning before work. So I'll do 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then I'll pick my work day up at 9 a.m. and on. But the engaging part is really important because if you're just posting content into a black hole, no one's going to see your stuff. Well, some people will, but you're going to take so much longer to grow. Whereas if you're posting and you're engaging with a ton of people on the platform and commenting on their stuff, liking their stuff, messaging people, just having conversations, not selling them, but just having conversations, building another relationship, that's one more person that's going to see your stuff. And then their network sees your stuff and it's a ripple effect. So I spend 2 hours a day on that. So that's probably, it's not 2 hours on weekends. So I probably do that for, I don't know, maybe 12 hours a week and content's about 8. So I'd probably say 20 hours a week total towards like the content marketing machine.
Got it. Got it. And I'm curious as to like what surprised you about making content, if anything. Like, did you have misconceptions when you started? And
I think the biggest thing that surprised me was how easy it is to grow if you just put the effort in. And I don't want to say easy because it's not necessarily easy, but it surprised me that commenting elsewhere was a part of the strategy and being in other conversations was a part of the strategy that would work. But looking back, it's like, well, yeah, that's so obvious. But I think that's not obvious to people, that it's like you need to be commenting on other posts. You need to be in other circles. You need to be having these conversations, because how do you grow to 1 million followers? Which I don't have 1 million followers. I have just under 20K. But how do you grow to 1 million followers? One person at a time, truthfully. And as you have one person and one person and one person, every time you're putting content out, you have more leverage behind the message that you're giving.
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest quote that kind of drilled that into my head was like, it's called social media because you're supposed to be social, and like interaction is a
Yes.
part of that. And there's even, everyone knows like what engagement bait is, or I don't know if you do this. Maybe you do to an extent where you kind of like say something to get people riled up, but that's
Oh,
to
yeah.
drive engagement to the post.
Well, you should be doing that. Like the hook, the first two lines, or the hook, as I'll call it, is the most important piece. Like it should be something that triggers people. It should be something that hooks them in. It should be something that's bait. But there's a difference between it. There's a difference between it being clickbait and between it being a strong hook that pulls people in. Clickbait is a strong hook that pulls people in that does not deliver on what it's talking about. A strong hook that's going to pull people in actually delivers in the body of the content and gives value and actually provides what it is saying in these first two lines. That's the major difference between the two.
Exactly, exactly. So were you surprised about the results? Like you said, you added an additional six figures in revenue just from like content marketing this year. Did that
Yeah.
surprise you when you set out? Did you expect that to have such like an impact on your business?
Let's put it this way. When I started content, the way I was looking at it was, if I can get one extra client every month, that would be incredible. If I get one extra client every month, I would be thrilled. So far this year, I've been getting about 3 clients every month. And that's only going to increase, quite frankly. And on top of that, I've had almost 150 inquiries for my business just this year. Just this year.
Wow.
So to have that from a platform of LinkedIn, if I was going to pay for ads, if I was going to do cold calling, the amount of time and the amount of money I would have to put out to do those things would be exponential. So I can see the writing on the wall, see the platform that's been being built and the lead flow that's coming in. I can charge higher prices for my services because I'm in more demand. Charging those higher prices allows me to invest back into my business to improve the service and actually provide a better value. So it's doing a lot for me. Obviously, I'm making more money. That's great. I'm in business to make money, of course, but I'm also in business to help people. So more money helps me help my clients more than I otherwise would have. So it's a
Right.
ripple effect, right?
Right. And just to clarify, like you brought up ads and other type of marketing you could do. Are you pairing content marketing with anything else, or are you just doing referrals and content?
I'm straight up just referrals and content right now. Now
Wow.
I am getting into email marketing. That's something I've been working with people to help me. I've been working with a consultant this year. We're launching my website, launching a free piece of value or a lead magnet that I'll be giving away. And I'm going to do a weekly newsletter as well. So that's going to pair with my content and just be another medium to talk to people and do it in a little bit of a more intimate and in-depth way. Um, but those are really the only three right now. And next year, planning to add Instagram, but I don't know how quick I'll get the ground running there, just because I don't want to take away anything from LinkedIn because of the strength I've had there. I mean, it's been, 13, it's been 13 leads a month on average. And for perspective, my service, the average cost is about $3,000 per client is their revenue per year. So you're talking 13 people inquiring about a high ticket offer every single month by content marketing. That's huge.
Yeah, yeah, that is. And based on previous growth and where you've been at this year and what you're planning to implement next year, like where do you see yourself roughly in like 6 to 12 months from now?
Well, I think my income is going to double from this year. If we're sitting here having this conversation November 28th of 2024, I think my income is going to double, which is crazy to say out loud. But when I look at, again, talk about the writing on the wall a lot in this conversation. When I look at the prospects that come in, the people inquiring for the business, the content and the impressions it's getting and the leads that it's producing, I mean, right now I'm getting about 500,000, 600,000 views a month on LinkedIn. Like that's not tiny numbers at all. I'm getting 5, 6 million people on my content a year. So that's only going to grow because it's grown every single year. It'll continue to grow. I think that it would be hard for me not to be double my income just based on some of that stuff.
Yeah, it is powerful when you say it out loud, but then when you have the data to back it up, it's kind of obvious, right?
It's crazy. I mean, you think about it, man. Even if it doesn't improve, and I'm still just 13 people a month coming in for an average of $3,000 per year. Now that goes to my team, and there's splits behind that and whatnot. But just say 13 people. Let's say that a quarter of them become clients, and we'll be even conservative and just say three per month. I mean, that alone is another 36 clients next year. You're taking $3,000 of that. I mean, that's another 110,000 of recurring revenue on top of what I'm already making. So
Yep.
it compounds, man. I think when you're in a service based business, if you're in a service based business, especially with a recurring revenue model, ignoring content is just it's just opportunity wasted. There's no other way to put it.
Right, right. And that was my next question, was just if somebody's on the fence about making content or maybe hiring help to do so, or even doing it on their own and like sitting and staring at the Google Doc and just facing their demons and just figuring out their voice on social media. Like,
Yeah,
what would you tell them if they were on the fence?
dude, here's the thing. I could go run a mile barefoot, right?
Okay.
But if I put shoes on, it's a lot easier to run that mile, right? Well,
I like
you
that.
could go grow your business and you could stick to referrals and your warm market and networking events and all this stuff, and they're all great and they have a place. But if you're on social media or if you're not on social media, that's like running a mile barefoot when you could be running a mile with shoes on. Like that is the best analogy I could give you of why you should be creating content. And if you don't know how and you have the resources to invest, outsource it. You can outsource a lot of the social media stuff. I don't outsource any of it. Personally, I wanted to learn it. I feel very good about marketing. I like it. I'm involved in it. I'm engaged in it. And I do think that for anybody in general, if you can get good at it and you're the person behind most of it, you're going to be successful. But there is a lot of pieces you can outsource and still keep the human element of your brand with it. So that'd be my pitch for social media.
Man, that's a pretty good mic drop moment. Is there anything else you'd kind of want to throw into anybody watching this?
Nah, man. I mean, it's just one of those things where, you see people doing it online. At least this is how I was. You see the content and it comes up in your explore page or in your feed or whatever, and you're like, I can never be that person. Well, why? Why can't you be that person? You could. And as I've done it, it's just crazy the opportunities that have unlocked for me that I never even thought would happen, and I know they'll continue to come and they'll only compound. So I think that it's something more people should do. I think it's something that will make your life easier, especially if you're in business. And I mean, look, if anyone's listening to this and they have questions about it, I'm more than happy to chat. I'm an open book.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all of the most successful clients I've had with any kind of content marketing, and even people I haven't worked with that I've seen like yourself, they all had the why not me mentality about posting, because it could be a little scary. It could be a little daunting, but we all see everyone do it. Everyone's addicted to their phone. You're consuming content all day. The difference between social media now and like media in the past, whether it was like TV or billboards or whatnot, there's a cost barrier to entry, and there's just not now. You have the option to participate. So,
Well,
yeah,
well, you know what else too? One more thing I just want to add quick. I think a lot of people don't do it because they're embarrassed and they're like, what will people think about me? What will people say about me? And they don't like that. But at the end of the day, the people that are going to talk about you, they talk about you because they're sitting back in their house on their couch, too scared to go after what they truly want to go after, which that could be a part of it. You're doing it. They're making fun of you or looking at you because they don't want you to succeed. Because if they succeed, then the responsibility of them not doing their thing they wanted to do is now on them. So
that's big.
if you're worried about other people's opinions, I would just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. And I appreciate you hopping on here with me. I can't wait to see like what the future holds for your content and where you go over the next year and beyond. Could you like plug, where people could find you if they think they might need your services?
Yeah, you could just find me on LinkedIn, Mando Salavanti, and right now we're recording this. It's November 28th, but as of like mid-January, I'll be on Instagram promoting my business heavy there.
Cool. Cool, man. Really appreciate it again. And I think this is a good place to cut it. And yeah, like I said, looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, for sure,
Appreciate it.
man.